Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Bruce Frisco. Todd Battis is off tonight. It is Tuesday, the 28th of October. This is CTV News. Tonight, disturbing allegations. A Halifax youth charged with contributing to a violent extremist network. Prayers for Jamaica, the island nation battered by a record-breaking storm.
And it's fair weather the next few days, but still looking at rainy and gusty conditions for Halloween on Friday.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Bruce Frisco.
Good evening. A Halifax youth has been charged in connection with a disturbing online network that police say glorifies extreme violence, blackmail, self-harm, and animal abuse. The accused is also facing several child pornography-related charges. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
Halifax police and RCMP have arrested a minor in connection with what they say is a violent and extremist online global network. The minor, who cannot be named as they are protected under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, faces several child pornography-related offenses and charges of publishing obscene material. Halifax Police Chief Don McLean told reporters at the time of the arrest the youth was allegedly acting as an online predator in an online group called 764 in the COM network that glorifies disturbing and violent behavior targeting youth.
We believe the youth we arrested had, over time, communicated with hundreds of young people worldwide.
Police say the online 764 and COM network is designed to manipulate young people into acts of self-harm, sexual exploitative acts, animal cruelty, and child pornography, and then in turn blackmail the victims.
And know that these relationships that these predators take online, they groom these children for months and manipulate them into doing what they want.
The arrest of the Halifax youth followed a tip from the National Child Exploitation Crime Center in Ottawa. Police say there's no evidence to indicate there are any local victims and that the youth isn't being treated as a victim at this point either, but the investigation continues.
At this stage of the investigation, there's nothing to say that they were a victim, but through the course of how this network works, victims can be groomed to then become a predator online.
Police used the press conference to warn parents about the dangers of online activity and to be more vigilant of your child's behavior there.
And if you have kids and people that have kids, go home and get an understanding of what your kids are doing online.
The youth has been released from custody under certain conditions and will appear in court later this week. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Police in St. John have arrested and charged a second person now with first-degree murder in connection with the death of a man last week. Police found an unconscious 41-year-old man after a weapons call in the Taylor Avenue area on Monday. The victim was taken to hospital but later died. Officers arrested a 36-year-old man at a University Avenue business that same day. Kieran Lopez is facing a first-degree murder charge. Police arrested a second man yesterday. Hunter Floyd has also been charged with first-degree murder. A man is dead following a three-vehicle collision in Cape Breton this morning. The crash happened just before 8 a.m. on the Lingan Road in the community of River Ryan. A man in his 80s was pronounced dead at the scene. 3 people in another vehicle were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Cause of the crash still under investigation. Just a reminder, for more on any of those stories, feel free to visit our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. It is always your home for news. Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Jamaica today. The historic storm is packing winds reaching almost 300 kilometers an hour. As CTV's Jonathan McGinnis tells us tonight, a lot of people in our region are watching and hoping for the best.
Hi there, my dear sister. How are you? How's the storm? How is the storm? Has it arrived yet?
Olive Phillips has been keeping close tabs on family and friends as Hurricane Melissa bears down on Jamaica. She's been in regular contact with her sister and brother-in-law as they wait for what the U.S. National Hurricane Center describes as one of the most powerful hurricane landfalls on record in the Atlantic Basin.
I've had a report about what has happened in St. Elizabeth, a family that we know, that they lost their roof and they're huddling down in their bathroom. So that side is under siege right now.
I'm just praying that it is not catastrophic.
Phillips, who is also the president of the Jamaican Association of Nova Scotia, remembers growing up with powerful storms.
As a child, I was excited when hurricane was coming because when the waters rose in the streets, my brothers would make little paper boats and put it up there, but that was mild stuff.
But with maximum sustained winds of 295 kilometers an hour and heavy rainfall, Phillips knows this Category 5 storm is different.
A lot of people live on the coast. And of course, now that the storm surges and the intense hurricane winds, bringing wind, the tidal surges and whatever happens, is kind of scary. But the danger also is in landslides, because many people have houses on the hills. Some of the most expensive houses are on the hillsides. You know, beautiful view. But if the water saturates the place so much, slippage can occur.
Sure. Phillips will be watching as she prepares for a long night of worrying as Hurricane Melissa takes a direct hit on the island where she grew up, and her family is riding out this dangerous storm. Jonathan McGinnis, CTV News, Halifax.
Here's a live look at Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, where it's currently 11 degrees. So with that, we'll get our first look at the forecast with meteorologist Kaylin Mitchell in the CTV Atlantic Weather Center. I know you've got more coming up on Melissa later on in the main weather.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's really the southwestern area of Jamaica that has so far been hit the hardest. That was the landfall point for that Category 5 hurricane. Now Category 4 as it's crossing Jamaica, and the next landfall point will be in eastern Cuba. So I've got more on that coming up later on. I did, however, want to start off by recapping some rainfall amounts that we did see here in the Maritimes over the last couple of days. There were some areas that picked up a substantial amount of rain. The highest rainfall reports that I received coming in from parts of the east of Nova Scotia, especially Guysborough County, where I had a couple of community reports over the 90-millimeter mark as far as overall rainfall totals go. There were other parts of northern central areas of Nova Scotia, a few areas of PEI in the southeast of New Brunswick that picked up some rainfall totals between 20 and 40 millimeters. Many other parts of the Maritimes finished with less than 20 millimeters out of that wet weather. Our next round of rainy and windy weather is lined up, of course, for Friday, which is Halloween. So more on that in the extended forecast. Over on radar and satellite for this evening and tonight, expecting partly cloudy conditions around the Maritimes. The clearest conditions throughout most of the night will be across the northern half of New Brunswick, parts of Prince Edward Island, and eastern areas of Nova Scotia, and then a little bit cloudier towards the southwest of Nova Scotia. If you were going to do some night sky viewing for tonight, and you're one of those areas where the skies are a little bit more on the clear side, just a couple things you can see. Waxing crescent moon is above the southern horizon this evening, 40% illuminated. The planet Jupiter will be above the eastern horizon at midnight. Hopefully the Jays game wraps up around then. And the comet Lemon will be just above the western horizon after sunset this evening, but you need binoculars to spot that, and it will be setting on the horizon by around 9:10 p.m. Bruce.
You could be optimistic about that midnight headline there.
Yeah.
More on the Jays coming up later in the broadcast. Thank you, Caitlin. Full forecast coming up about 15 minutes, in fact. To Trenton, Nova Scotia now, where people say their patience is starting to wear thin. For years, they've been promised a new school, but the current classroom conditions are deteriorating faster than those dreams are being realized. CTV's Hafsa Arif has the details.
When the rain comes down, it doesn't stop at the roof of Trenton Middle School. Drops slide through cracks and corners.
It's not a good school. It's not healthy, and our kids deserve a lot better than what we have right here.
Scott Cameron once studied here. Decades later, taught in the classrooms. Now his grandkids walk the same halls.
The school has had issues with some mold in the last year or two. There's days when you would think that the sewer had broke. Downstairs where the washrooms are, you can come in and all you smell is sewage.
The elementary and middle schools here are more than half a century old, and there are roughly 150 students in each of the two schools.
My youngest has quite a few nosebleeds and like sinus issues. A lot of the other children, it seems like everybody is always constantly sick in this school.
For a decade, provincial leaders have pledged to build a new primary to grade 8 school, but it has yet to happen.
They should have started the next day. They said, here's the school, let's go into Trenton, let's start the process. There's no reason government has to be that slow.
The province tells CTV it recognizes the need for a new school in Trenton and remains committed to building it. It confirms the project is still in the site selection phase and points to work already done, including roof replacement. Still, families find the repairs aren't enough.
Like, the building is very dated, and they just basically slap paint on things, and nothing has really changed.
The school board says it continues to maintain both schools while the province plans the replacement. But families say it's hard to believe those words when the reality looks like this.
They actually played a championship basketball game last year with about 3 buckets on the floor. The kids had to run around because the water was pouring down from the ceiling. It was raining that day.
The community is planning a demonstration tomorrow morning, hoping to push the province to move from promises to progress. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Trenton.
Get the Maritimes top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Ask anybody about the economy these days, and the consensus seems to be brace for impact. There is an expectation that Canada will continue to shed jobs as the country faces U.S. tariffs and a slowing economy. Still, expert insists workers should know what to do in the event of a layoff. CTV's Vanessa Wright has details.
During a time of economic uncertainty, companies across the country are looking for ways to tighten their belts and budgets. For Canadian workers, that could potentially mean layoffs.
We have the opportunity to speak with workers right across Canada in virtually every sector. And what we're seeing is an increase in the amount of layoffs that are happening.
The Canadian Labour Congress says 66,000 jobs were lost in the last quarter alone. That, alongside a staggering youth unemployment rate, has caused worry among working Canadians.
It doesn't matter what sector they're working in. It doesn't matter if they've just graduated high school or they're 5 years from retirement. They're very worried about the future of their jobs. And even if it's not their own job that they're worrying about, they're worrying about their family, their friends, their communities. And so it's pretty widespread in terms of that fear.
Career expert Angela Champ says there are ways to tell if a layoff is coming.
Corporately, what you want to look for is signs like there's hiring freezes, salary freezes, they don't backfill when people leave.
Another indication is if a company says they want to streamline operations or make things more efficient. She says keeping your skills up to date is key.
There's lots of free and almost free courses you could be taking through LinkedIn, through your library, through your local university or college. Make sure that your skills are up to date. Things that you learned in university or in the first 22 years of your life are not going to carry you for a 40 or 50-year career.
In any case, preparing for a layoff could help mitigate stress down the line.
When people lose their job, their inclination is to close themselves off, hide in their house, don't reach out to anybody. That is the complete opposite to what you should be doing. If you are facing a layoff or if you are laid off, you want to be reaching out to as many people as possible to let them know that you're in the market.
Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Halifax.
This is also the focus of our CTV News web poll tonight. We're asking, how concerned are you about layoffs at your workplace? I'm very concerned, I'm somewhat concerned, or I'm not concerned at all. Share your thoughts as always, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. It's being billed as the first agreement of its kind between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, a formal seat agreement that will see New Brunswick students given preferred admission to 8 different allied health programs in Nova Scotia. The hope is for those students to bring the skills back home. CTV's Nick Moore has details.
If you're a student in New Brunswick, you have to leave in order to become a pharmacist, physiotherapist, or dentist. Today's agreement between the New Brunswick and Nova Scotia governments will fund 57 English language training spots in those allied health programs, along with a half-dozen more at Dalhousie University in Halifax.
Which means that we then have New Brunswickers who haven't gone too far away from home that we can bring back.
The New Brunswick government will budget $21 million over 5 years beginning next fall to secure the preferred admission of New Brunswick students into training programs that also include physician assistants, occupational therapy, speech-language pathology, audiology, diagnostic ultrasounds, and nuclear medicine technology.
So this investment in the training for New Brunswickers is really going to help us fill some of the critical vacancies that we have in our healthcare workforce today.
It's been a bit of a challenge, to say the least, over the last couple of years to find students who are graduating.
Kelly O'Donnell is owner of Foundation Health Centers PC, a locally owned and operated clinic in Fredericton.
Hopefully, that's going to be our first step to ensuring that we have more people coming back and helping with our community.
But there's no specific commitment in the agreement for students to return to New Brunswick once they graduate in Nova Scotia.
But you will understand that we will work closely with those students to be sure that they have a place and an offer to work in New Brunswick. The first step, it was really for us in the province to have an agreement with the government of Nova Scotia.
In all, the New Brunswick government will fund 98 allied health training seats by next fall, including 41 spots in French at universities in Quebec. Now again, physiotherapy training is included in the agreement between the New Brunswick government and Nova Scotia government, but that aside, the New Brunswick government says it is working with the University de Moncton to create a physiotherapy program there for the 2027-28 academic year. Bruce?
Okay, thank you, Nick. CTV's Nick Moore reporting from Fredericton tonight. The New Brunswick Teachers Association is calling on the province to release its strategy for the retention and recruitment of certified teachers. The association says getting and keeping teachers in the province is its #1 priority. To help achieve that, the group has made 4 recommendations, including additional time and resources for educators, prioritizing certified professionals in learning, and valuing indicators of student success. One of the pillars has already seen benefits with 2 PD days a month as part of a pilot program.
The fact that they have that chance to collaborate with colleagues, to be more responsive to student needs, to just have the time to really make sure that they are nailing it, that they're doing their jobs well. So the positive feedback so far, and we look forward to seeing the data as the program rolls out.
This is all very timely. Over the next 5 years, upwards of 1,300 Anglophone teachers and another 157 principals and vice principals are said to be eligible for retirement. A police officer in Fredericton is shining a light on the ongoing and prevalent issue of impaired driving. He says drunk drivers are everywhere, including drive-thrus, mall parking lots, even quiet side streets. CTV's Laura Brown has more.
We're following this Fredericton police cruiser to a site where they caught an impaired driver. You may be surprised, they're not always actually on the road.
We see it a lot as well as people behind the wheel in a parking lot openly drinking alcohol. Regardless of whether or not you're driving on the roadways, you're still in the care and control of that motor vehicle.
Constable Ben Hughes places a sign at the parking lot of the Brookside Mall. Impaired driver caught here. Just one of 15 sites across the city he's placing these signs because he says impaired drivers are everywhere.
We've received calls for just people passed out in vehicles, and we've responded, and they've actually been impaired behind the wheel. So we've had examples, McDonald's drive-through or the Tim Hortons drive-through where the person's been passed out for a long period of time in the drive-through.
The Fredericton police officer is also the president of Fredericton's chapter of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. He wears both hats because for him, the issue is both professional and personal.
It's so I can bring an impact to those that have lost a loved one to an impaired driver.
Fredericton police have charged 129 people with impaired driving offenses so far this year. Constable Hughes says police have been able to do more patrolling after changes were made to the province's Motor Vehicle Act. Called immediate roadside suspensions, it allows police to use their own discretion to issue a license suspension. And right now, they're seeing just as many cases of those under the influence of drugs as they are alcohol.
The biggest misconception from the public is they often don't believe we have the tools necessary to charge someone for driving while under the influence of a drug, but we do have specific tests and stuff we do conduct.
Constable Hughes encourages anyone who suspects a driver is under the influence to call 911. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Thank you, Laura. Still to come tonight, a partly cloudy and chilly night ahead. Kaylin will be back with his full forecast. Coming up next, though, in search of minerals.
We don't just have good geology, we have very good logistics.
Tell you about an initiative New Brunswick is undertaking to try and establish the province as a place for mineral development. That's next. New Brunswick has set the framework for its new minerals strategy. It'll focus on establishing the province as both a responsible and a competitive location for development. And as CTV's Avery McRae tells us tonight, there are a few minerals of note.
New Brunswick is home to 21 of the nation's 34 critical minerals, including tungsten, copper, and even gold. Now shovels are inching closer to digging up the province's mining sector potential.
We made a commitment to develop a comprehensive mineral strategy.
Framework for the strategy has been created, and it will be built on 5 main areas. Streamlining regulatory and permitting processes by simplifying rules while protecting the environment, promoting awareness of the province's potential when it comes to mineral development, meaningful Indigenous participation built through collaboration and partnerships, enhancing the investment environment, and planning for local benefits.
We don't just have good geology, we have very good logistics. There are 40,000 kilometers of logging roads throughout New Brunswick. We've got a road to just about anywhere where there may be a geological potential to develop a mine or develop a particular asset, or even to restart an existing mine that has been dormant for a period of time.
One dormant deposit is the Nutrient Potash mine just outside Sussex. It ceased operations in 2016, but the company and province had recent discussions about the potential of reopening.
We've asked them to convey to us about what needs to change. You know, what from a technology perspective, from a price point for the commodity, for them to reconsider operating that asset.
Green Party leader David Kuhn also hopes to see the Sussex site reopen. As for the overall plans framework, he has some environmental concerns.
We can't be rushing mining development through that compromises the environment in a way that's done simply to minimize the cost to the developers.
The completed strategy is expected to be unveiled this spring. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
Thank you, Avery. Still to come tonight, generally cool but fair late October weather over the next few days. Kaylin will have all those details when we come back. Live look at St. John on this Tuesday evening, 6:28 right now, and currently 8 degrees. It's certainly looking a little cooler, a little drizzly out there, but I guess everybody's thoughts right now are with the folks down in Jamaica who are dealing with untold devastation, I can only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like one of the strongest hurricanes on record to make landfall in the Caribbean. You can look at that 2 ways. There's just the central pressure of the storm, which dropped down to around 892 millibars, very, very low. And generally, the lower the central pressure, the more intense the storm is.
Right.
And then there's maximum sustained wind speeds in at 295 kilometers per hour. That matches up with Dorian in 2019, which brought, as we saw, extensive damage to the Bahamas, right?
Certainly, yeah.
So this is the update from the National Hurricane Center. Melissa is moving towards the north. It's a little bit of good news. You have to remember in 2019, the Dorian basically sat in the same place over the Bahamas for days on end. There is some movement with this hurricane. It's come down to a Category 4 now that it's moved over land areas of Jamaica, so it's off of those warmer ocean waters. But there's not a lot of land for it to move over, so it is expected to maintain as a Category 4 as it heads towards its second landfall, which will be eastern Cuba tonight. And eastern Cuba is concerned about many of the same weather impacts that Jamaica has experienced, including the potential for destructive winds right and around that landfall point. And then over a wider area, the concerns about flooding and landslides created by the heavy rain, which could total between a few and several hundred millimeters, and storm surge on parts of the coast. Additionally, central parts of the Bahamas are underneath a hurricane warning because after the storm exits Cuba, which will happen on Wednesday, it is expected to pass sort of through that central Bahama area on its way up towards the north. And then at the end of this week, it moves north of Bermuda. Could come pretty close to the island there. And then the remnants of the storm system expected to hold to the east of the land areas in the Maritimes and Atlantic Canada. Now, while the remnants of the storm system passed through the outermost marine areas, it is bringing up a lot of moisture with it. I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but you can see here, this is a model for the available amount of moisture in the atmosphere for rain, and through the warmer colors, the yellows, the oranges and reds, that's a lot of heavy moisture. And of course, as you'd expect, there's a lot of that wrapped up in and around that storm as it moves north of the Bahamas. Now, the thing we need to watch out for on Friday, which of course is Halloween, is that we have this weather front moving in from the west. And that front can sometimes act as a little bit of a conveyor belt, drawing some of that heavy tropical moisture off the remnants of that storm system and up into some of the rain that is expected to come down on Friday. And that'll increase our risk on Friday, especially for the province of Nova Scotia. There could be some periods of heavier rain or downpours with the wet weather as it moves through. Now, for tonight around the Maritime region, we're looking at partly cloudy conditions for Nova Scotia and then some clearing conditions for New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. Start of the day for tomorrow, we're going to see the return of some cloud cover. It's going to be building in from the south. It is accompanied by a low chance of some showers around the southwestern coastline of Nova Scotia. Wednesday afternoon, a mix of sun and cloud. Temperatures for tonight around the region, lows mostly around the low to mid single digits. The colder than that, where it's going to be a little bit more on the clear side, it's much to the northern half of New Brunswick. There are some low temperatures between around -4 and 0. Highs in the north of New Brunswick for tomorrow between 10 and 13 degrees, with central and southern parts of the province with high temperatures in the low teens. Prince Edward Island on Wednesday with high temperatures around 11, 12 degrees for most communities, including 12 for Summerside and Charlottetown. Cape Breton tomorrow with high temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees, between 11 and 13 for eastern areas of Nova Scotia, the North Shore and the Eastern Shore. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia with high temperatures between 11 and 13. And it's mostly highs in the low teens as well for the Annapolis Valley, South Shore, and southwest of the province. In the 7-day forecast for New Brunswick, Friday, Halloween, still rainy and gusty weather expected as that front comes through. That's followed by cloudy periods and cooler temperatures as we move through the weekend. Clocks go back on Sunday. A mix of sun and cloud to start next week and a chance of showers on Tuesday. Now for Nova Scotia in the forecast, a mix of sun and cloud on Thursday, but then turning over to some rainy and windy weather moving across the province on Friday. Western parts of Nova Scotia may see most of the rain move through morning and afternoon. Cloudy periods in the forecast for Saturday and Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud for Monday, and a chance of showers after that on Tuesday. And for Prince Edward Island, the forecast, a mix of sun and cloud over the next couple of days, but that round of rainy and windy weather moving through on Friday. That's followed by cloudy periods, cooler temperatures for the weekend, mix of sun and cloud to start next week, and a chance of showers on Tuesday. Bruce.
All right, thanks, sir. Wake-up weather still to come before the end of this broadcast. Next, we're going to head to Los Angeles to discuss last night's marathon Game 3 of the World Series. Did you make it to the end? And we've also got this story coming up.
Hi, it's Katie Kelly. Coming up on the scene, she's Canadian royalty. And last night, Nashville rolled out the red carpet for Anne Murray. We'll hear from one of the Maritimers who took part in her incredible tribute coming up here on CTV News at 6.
Okay, so we continue with Virgin Radio's 5K a day, giving you a chance to win $5,000 daily.
Those keywords start with us tomorrow morning at 7.
And get a shot at a $100 gas card around 7:30. Good luck.
Don't have to tell you there are zombies walking around the Maritimes today. It has nothing to do with Halloween. They are Blue Jays fans who stayed up for Game 3. CTV's Raheem Ladani was there. He is in Los Angeles covering the World Series. Raheem, all of us here on the East Coast probably deserve an award for staying up until nearly 4 a.m. our time. How are you feeling?
Hey, Bruce, I'm doing better than the players, I'll tell you that. It certainly was a marathon, right? I mean, 18 innings, 6 hours and 39 minutes, tying the second longest World Series from a length perspective, tying the longest from an innings perspective. It was a marathon, and I can tell you, when Freddie Freeman hit that home run, you could see excitement, but also a little bit of relief on his face and his teammates, because this was a very, very long game. And then when you looked over to the Blue Jays dugout, you saw a lot of despair, frustration, and heartbreak, because it's a tough loss. No doubt about that.
Yeah, undoubtedly a tough loss for sure. And it seems to emphasize, though, just how closely matched these clubs are, right? Like this was truly just one force against the other.
Without a doubt, 100%. I think a lot of that frustration stems from the fact that there were multiple points during this game where the Blue Jays actually took out the Dodger home crowd. There were moments of lulls because Toronto had come back. Even though they were down 2-0 early, Alejandro Kirk hit a timely home run. That gave the Jays the lead. And even later on, it was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with some incredible base running, scoring all the way from first place. That gave the Jays the lead for a second time. But every time the Jays had this game within the grasp, they let the Dodgers creep back in. And when you give the likes of Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman an opportunity to come back, they are going to burn you. And they did just that. And that puts the Dodgers in a beautiful position up 2-1 with 2 more home games. And it puts the pressure squarely on the Toronto Blue Jays because, yes, tonight is not an elimination game, but it certainly does feel like this is the one they need to get.
Yeah, it very much feels like a must-win tonight, right, to keep this any kind of momentum going.
Yeah, if not for the fact that of the physical exhaustion, but also there's going to be a mental exhaustion, right? There's not a lot of time off for the Blue Jays, but you can't lull on what happened yesterday. In fact, Ernie Clement after the game said, listen, I'm tired as HE double hockey sticks. However, I expect us to be firing when we come back to the ballpark tomorrow. And that's the mindset you have to have, right? As tough a loss as it was, John Schneider said after the game, the Dodgers didn't win the World Series last night. They won one game.
Sure.
And that's the mentality the Jays have had all season long, not getting too high when they're up, not getting too low when they're down. It's a tall task ahead of them for sure, especially because they're facing Shohei Ohtani on the mound today, right? He struck out 10 batters last time he was on the mound, but he also played 18 innings yesterday, so maybe he's exhausted and maybe the Jays catch him on a little bit of an off day. And so a lot's at stake here for sure, but the mentality for the Jays has to be still win one in LA and force the series back to Toronto.
They're both going to be tired, obviously, because of the marathon last night. How do you see it impacting the Jays tonight, that exhaustion?
So there are a lot. Yeah, so I mean, there are a lot of questions about the Jays when it comes to the exhaustion and their injuries. George Springer left the game yesterday. We're still waiting on MRI results. We don't know his status for the game. And what we saw from the Jays were some interesting lineup moves by John Schneider throughout the game, right? At one point, he pulled out Alejandro Kirk. They pulled Addison Barger and also who else did they pull? I'm trying to remember. Bo Bichette, of course, that's who it was, for situational pinch running. But they're interesting decisions because as the game went on, the Jays offense actually got weaker because they didn't have those strong bats. So maybe they're more well-rested because they didn't play the full 18. That's one potential. But, I mean, it's going to come down to the big names need to show up once again, right? Vladdy had a good game yesterday, and they're going to need to tap on him again because if the Jays want to even this series at 2, they need everybody, as Ernie Clement said, firing on all cylinders.
And you alluded to this earlier, fans understandably kind of struggling with Freeman hitting the walk off the home run there. He was, of course, or plays intentionally or internationally for Team Canada. He's very popular here.
100%. He's a dual citizen, right? He's got the U.S. and the U.S. and the Canadian citizenship. I don't know how many Canadian fans are loving him right now, but he is a timely player. In fact, just go back to last World Series, and he hit a grand slam in Game 1 of the World Series between the Dodgers and the Yankees. And so he's known for timely hits. It's not just Shohei Ohtani, and that's one of the great parts about this LA Dodgers lineup when you look from just a baseball perspective, not from a Blue Jays fan's perspective, of course, but you really have to appreciate just how powerful they are. There aren't really any soft spots in their lineup, and Freddie Freeman is a big part of that.
It was interesting just watching the fans last night because it was very apparent to all of them that they were watching history unfold, right? You saw a lot of them looking at each other and just smiling.
Yet they knew they were a part of something special, no matter which jersey you were wearing. In fact, when Freddie Freeman hit that home run, there were still about 80% of the fans in Dodger Stadium. Nobody wanted to leave. When you're in those kinds of moments, it's not so much about the time or what are we going to do for work tomorrow. You're focused on the moment at hand because you're not going to be able to experience this all the time. And that's kind of what postseason baseball, postseason sports is all about, right? You ride with your team throughout the regular season, the highs and the lows, hoping for those special moments. So for a lot of those fans to be a part of it, it's something they're going to be able to tell their kids, their grandkids about. And both sides are hoping that they can follow that up with, and my team won the World Series.
For sure, of course. We'll have to leave it there, Raheem. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, Bruce.
Raheem Ladani joining us tonight from Los Angeles ahead of tonight's Game 4. Plenty more news on the other side of the break. Stay with us. In the Lifeline tonight, why Canada's status as a country without endemic measles can now be revoked. CTV's Amanda Debison has more.
Canada is expected to lose its international status as a measles-free country following an outbreak that began in New Brunswick and spread across the nation. In 1998, Canada managed to eliminate measles outbreaks and maintain the measles-free status for more than 25 years. Public health and infectious disease experts say the return of the virus comes from the declining vaccination rates among Canadians. A decision by the Pan American Health Organization will be announced following a review next month. Health Canada has approved the first drug shown to slow Alzheimer's disease. Lecanemab targets plaque buildup in the brain linked to the illness. Experts say the antibody treatment, delivered by IV every 2 weeks, can delay memory loss in early stages, but note it isn't a cure. The Alzheimer's Society says the drug offers family one precious thing: more time together. Finally, endlessly scrolling on your phone to decompress? The habit known as doom scrolling may actually be doing more harm than good.
Doom scrolling is when you become so intensely focused on social media that it becomes problematic. You lose time, you lose a sense of clarity in terms of what am I actually reading here? And how is it affecting me?
Experts say doom scrolling can fuel stress, anxiety, and even disrupt sleep. Scrolling can lead to unhealthy feelings of comparison, leading to headaches and muscle tension. To avoid this, they suggest setting screen time limits with an alarm to signal when your screen time is up. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
On the scene now with Katie, and there was a big tribute last night to a legendary East Coaster on one of the country music's biggest stages last night.
That's right, Bruce. Anne Murray, my favorite. She was celebrated at the Grand Ole Opry, and there were some fellow Maritimers there to help do the honors.
Nice.
There she is. A Canadian legend enters the building. 80-year-old Anne Murray of Spring Hill, Nova Scotia, at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville.
You could almost feel the royalty, royalty vibes. She's a royal.
The music of my life, an all-star tribute to Anne Murray, celebrated her legacy with performances from Trisha Yearwood, Martina McBride, Katie Lang, and many more.
Katie Lang's performance, and she acknowledged sort of having a crush on Anne. She was 6 or whatever that was. It was really cute. Everybody really dug that.
Cape Breton's own Grammy winner Gordie Sampson took the stage alongside his daughter Amelie and fellow Nova Scotian Dylan Guthrow.
To come up and, I suppose, represent Atlantic Canada as part of the show.
The trio performed Murray's classic Put Your Hand in the Hand, written by East Coast songwriter Gene McClellan.
Made a little quick arrangement of it. We didn't think much about it. We just started jamming it, and we were like, this sounds pretty cool. We try not to overthink it.
It was one of many special moments.
There's a tribute to Anne, and it was very heartfelt. Everybody that got up there had a story. Some of the songwriters that are kind of up there now that wrote her big hits.
And a crowd filled with Canadians.
When Katie Lang performed, she took the temperature of the audience to see how many Canadians were in there, and it was rather a roar.
For Sampson, sharing a moment with Anne was an experience he'll never forget.
I never met her until yesterday, but it's just like you meet her and you feel like you've known her a long time.
The evening was a fitting tribute for a trailblazer who has sold over 55 million albums, won 4 Grammys, and holds a record 26 Junos, including a Lifetime Achievement Award. Yet, never forgot where she comes from.
It's like, wow, I'm in the presence of a superstar, but she's so humble and thoughtful. She's clearly an East Coaster, was my takeaway.
But I had a feeling one day you'd be back, and here you are.
Wouldn't that have been just awesome to be there last night?
I feel like it's my biggest regret in life that I didn't go. I woke up this morning, social media is all Blue Jays, Anne Murray, Blue Jays, Anne Murray, everywhere you scroll. But it really has been the year of Anne Murray. I mean, with her turning 80, releasing a new album, getting that Lifetime Achievement Award.
Her new BFF relationship with you.
Yes, most importantly, of course. I know, I should text her today. You think I should text her?
Text her.
May as well. Say
Got
congratulations.
Anne's number. Go ahead and use it. Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll take a look at tonight's primetime lineup. On the markets today, the Dow ended the day up 161 points. Two Canadian companies will partner with the U.S. to build nuclear reactors. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has more on that.
Cameco mines uranium, and with Brookfield Asset Management, it will work with Washington to build the large reactors. The U.S. will help arrange $80 billion worth of financing and handle approvals. The AI build-out demands an enormous amount of energy. The U.S., like Canada and others, is looking for ways to feed that demand. Cameco shares spiked more than 25% today on news of the agreement. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 71.75. West Texas Intermediate crude is down more than $1 to 60.15. Western Canadian Select is down slightly to 48.60. And the TSX gained 143 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Thank you, Marilla. Now we'll head outside to Kaylin on the weather deck.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. It's a pretty pleasant evening out here, though you definitely can tell it's going to be a chillier night for the Maritimes, and winds still a little bit gusty. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight, and this is a nice one. It's coming in from Wanda Scott from Milton, Nova Scotia, and you can see the trees there. They've lost a lot of their leaves. There's some cloudy sky in the background, but the sun must be breaking through just a little bit. So I want to thank Wanda very much for sharing that picture. Milton for tomorrow can expect a mostly cloudy day and a high temperature near 12 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow across the Maritimes, brisk to chilly to start in the morning. Coldest temperatures will be basically across the northern half of New Brunswick, where some morning temperatures will be in the range of around -4 to 0. Much of the rest of the Maritimes starting the day with temperatures around the low to mid single digits. Moving into and through the afternoon, a little bit of increasing cloudiness, enough to turn over to a mix of sun and cloud for New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Cloudier for western areas of Nova Scotia, and there's going to be a chance of some showers on the southwestern coastline of that province. The high temperatures tomorrow in the range of around 11 to 13 degrees. Bruce.
Okay, thank you, sir. Finally, tonight, a record-breaking donation will help fill the shelves at the food bank in Ottawa. Ottawa area entrepreneur Franklin Holtforster and his family donating a staggering $2.5 million during a time of increased need. The donation, spaced over the next decade, will support the purchase and distribution of food. It is the largest donation in the 4-decade history of the nation's food bank, nation's capital food bank. That is the program for this Tuesday night. The rebroadcast begins in just a moment over on CTV2, and of course CTVNewsAtlantic.ca updates right around the clock. I'm Bruce Frisco in for Todd Battis, and I will be back with your next local newscast at 11:30 tonight. Thank you for watching this one. Have a good evening. I hope to see you soon.
CTV News, the Maritimes' #1 newscast.